Hello.
We'd be vibing.
Welcome back. We just dance break for a second.
Yeah, we got to vibe.
It's good to get your wiggles
It gets
out.
you like ready for it.
Yeah.
I'm Cyndi.
I'm Paige.
And this
Is
Mom's the Word, where mom knows best.
Or at least she's trying her best.
We are. Happy day.
Happy day.
Happy spring.
Happy spring.
It's the spring and I'm feeling so good.
Do you believe in Groundhog's Day?
I mean, I don't know.
I've been alive for 32 years and that groundhog has never said spring was coming early. Ever. That motherfucker loves the winter.
I feel like it's engraved to me to love that little
I
man.
also think that like his reasoning behind it'll be like, oh, he came out and he saw his shadow, so it's going to be winter for 6 more weeks. Why? Because if he saw his shadow, isn't the sun out?
No.
Isn't that
it's
spring?
like the opposite.
It's gloomy in the winter.
The thing, like, if it's gloomy so he doesn't see his shadow, that means the spring's about to come because
That's bullshit.
you know.
That groundhog gets on my nerves. I'm ready for spring, darn it. I want some warmth.
She literally brought up Groundhog Day, which was literally over a month ago.
Was it really?
Yes.
What did he say? Did he say it was going to be
It was
6
an
months?
early spring.
He said that?
Yeah, he
Oh.
did. And the sun makes me feel good.
I'll be damned. Oh, it's been so good lately.
Like, it makes me feel just so excited. I am not a winter girl. I thought I was. Like, I love the fall, right?
I love the fall.
But then I get sick of being in the house with my kids. And I homeschool, so I'm home all day long.
Yeah.
And so, the sun makes me thrive.
I love like fall activities. I
True.
love Christmas. I love pumpkins. I
Yes.
love the food. I love all those things. It's comforting and it's, it feels good. But then it's so dark all the time. And you don't realize that it's messing with you until the sun comes back out. And you're like, my sparkle's
Oh
coming
God.
back.
September through December is really busy and really fun because it's like all the fall
Yes.
holidays. And then New Year's comes and it's like, oh no, now I'm ready. I'm ready for the
New
spring
year,
to be
new
here.
me.
I'm ready. So
Well, then it's my birthday, so I get excited for like 2 weeks. But then now I don't because now I'm just aging.
yes.
That's
And
what's
can you
happening.
believe that you now have a 1-year-old? That's kind of wild.
It's
That's wild.
heartbreaking.
And my littlest is 6 months old now.
I know.
Itty bitty girl is 6 months now.
Which it feels like you've had her for a year.
I
So
know,
when
people
you
used
say
to-
that, I'm like, what? But yeah, it's these kids, man. They grow up in the blink of an eye.
They do.
So
I
fast.
can't
So many new
believe that.
milestones and things. We're trying to walk. We're trying to do all the things. God, there's so much pressure too on those milestones.
Yeah.
Like it's okay. It's okay if your kid is not hitting the milestone when Google says
my
they
God.
should be.
Oh, my first with Bear, I was like, he is 90 percentile.
Yep.
He is this, he's this. And I was feeling proud. He walked at 10 months. And now I'm like,
Oh, girl,
now
same.
I've had so many kids. And I'm like, well, I had this one walk at 15. I had this one walk at 11. Like, now it's just like, oh, they're all different. Like, what does it matter that my child's 90 percentile for height?
Literally, why do they make that such a big deal?
Oh,
And then
gosh.
now I stress because I'll be like, Juliet's in the 40th percentile. And I'm like, oh my God, shouldn't she be at least
No.
at 50? And my doctor said someone has to be the 10%. It's okay.
That's right.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. You're right.
I was a little stressed because like Bear would be 90% for like height and weight. No, height, not weight. Weight was like 40%. Like he was just very
Long and
long.
skinny.
He was so long.
That's like your brother, though. Your brother is
Literally.
long and skinny.
And the doctor was like, look at this chart here. Do you see it? If whatever he's
As
following.
long as it's going up. That's what
Yes.
she tells me. As long as we're going
That's
up,
right.
we're doing good.
Yes.
Oh, it's so stressful. We put so much pressure on ourselves as parents,
do.
though, to have the child that walks and talks and does all the things that people think, and especially as creators. I'll
yeah.
say, as creators, our kids have even more pressure because, like,
yeah.
I just talked about how my daughter didn't like a bottle at all, just repelled all bottles straight up. And people were like, but she's the one, she should be on a sippy cup. Well, first of all, I've tried.
Yeah.
I have
It's not like you haven't tried.
Right. We have done all these things. I have attempted the sippy cup. I have attempted the
Yes.
bottle. If it looks different for my child, that doesn't mean anything other than the process was different.
Right.
Like,
The one mom that validated you though, I thought was so cute. The one I was like, did y'all not just realize that she had a baby attached to her from day one to
Yeah.
still today? Like,
people were so focused on the fact that I haven't been able to give my daughter a cup of water without assisting her. And somebody was like, but y'all just skipped over the fact she's done every single feeding for a year. Yes, ma'am, I did.
I love those
Yes,
people
ma'am, I did.
who like literally see through.
It was
like,
hard.
Yeah.
Mentally draining in every way to be the only one she ever touched. That's no break. That's every 2 to 3 hours. I would go places and be called back home
Yep.
because she won't take this bottle. We tried every damn
Yeah.
thing that we could. I've spent so much money on bottles and attempts to get her to like one. She didn't like any until
finally
we found a weaning bottle. It was
That's right.
specifically a weaning bottle, and it was fantastic. So
That's great.
don't put so much pressure on yourself. It's going to happen.
So today we're going to be kind of discussing foster care. We haven't talked about that in a while. I am an active foster parent. So
Yeah. People got a lot of questions from Miss Cyndi.
It's been a while since we've done one. In the
Yeah.
next couple of weeks, we're going to bring on another foster adoptive parent.
Yeah.
And I thought, let's just keep talking about it because this is what my active life is. So,
Absolutely.
I still am an active foster parent. I have a itty bitty girl. She's experiencing foster care still. She's been in the system for 6 months now.
Yeah.
And so we have some questions that
Yeah.
I'll answer, and then we'll bring Jay in for a different perspective. So, so a little about me before she asks me a question. I've been a foster parent for almost 5 years. This June, July, I've cared for 15 kids. I keep forgetting. Fox was the one I adopted.
I was going to
in
say earlier,
October.
you said I've had 13 kids leave, and I thought, but we've adopted one, so that would be 15. I was counting them in my brain.
I know. I have a hard time because I'll go back further, and then I'll be like, well, I've actually cared for like 20 because I've done respite care.
Yeah.
But I've sent 13 children home. Fox I adopted. Itty bitty is still in care.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a mixture. But anyways, we are still active foster parents. My cup is full right now. I have 2 babies, 1 year old and under. And so we're not taking any more kids. A lot of people ask me that question. So go
You're
ahead,
not
Paige.
open for placements, is what they would call it.
Yes.
You could call and be like, hey, we're good. We're going to go ahead and be open for placements. You probably get a call like tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. But I'm very good about like my cup's full. I have 2 babies. One still wakes up at nighttime. And so we're good right now.
Yeah.
But that could change the next few months. But right now we are not open to anymore.
Now, you did just mention one of the questions that they were asking.
Okay.
They were asking how many kids you've had through placement, and you said 15.
Yeah. Yeah.
One who we've adopted.
Yep, Fox Boy is adopted, and then anybody. But yeah, all the rest have gone home or like to a different living circumstance with family or
Yeah.
a sibling with siblings, something like that.
And
So,
you just said an itty bitty, but to clarify for our listeners, itty bitty is not adopted.
No.
She is experiencing foster care.
she is still in foster care. Yes,
So let's say here.
and it's okay to repeat questions. Maybe some of you guys have heard these, but I'm going to go ahead and go over them again because it's been a while.
And there's a lot of random questions, so they may not have very deep
Yes.
answers. They may
Yes.
just be straightforward.
Go for it.
Okay. If a baby comes straight from the hospital with no reunification, are they named by their biological mother?
If the mom names them before she leaves, yes, absolutely. So when a baby's born, they will ask the mother right away, like, what do you want to name the baby? And if the mom is literally about to leave, they'd be like, do you still want to name the baby? But there are different circumstances where the mom leaves before the baby is named. And we have had that experience. I've had friends have that experience where they come with no name and they are just either called, baby girl, their last name. They always have their last name. They carry that with them. Or girl, this girl last name.
Does
So,
the hospital put their last name on the birth certificate that the mother had?
yes.
Either way?
Either way. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you need to retain a lawyer to foster or for adoption?
No. So foster, I don't have a lawyer at all. The children have a lawyer. They have a GAL, which is guardian ad litem. That lawyer represents the child. When we do go to adoption, you do get a lawyer, someone to represent you. Awesome. And that's the only time. But there's no fight. It's for they do the paperwork, they file the paperwork, things like that.
Nice.
Yeah, it makes it easy. You don't got to stress about anything.
Does it cost a lot to become a foster parent?
No. So the only way it's going to cost you money is if you need to change things to your home to prepare for children. So for our home was older, we had to add things like newer smoke detectors. We had to add a gate around our pool. We had to add things to just make our house safer. But that's the only money that
They have a
comes out of pocket.
checklist of
Yeah,
things
they have
you
a
have to
checklist
do.
that you have to do. Yeah, and then you prepare by getting some clothes ready in each side. Sometimes that can cost money, but a lot of times you can get that secondhand, so you're just ready. But it doesn't cost money to become a foster parent at all.
There's no interim fee.
Nope.
Awesome.
Nope.
Somebody said, we're licensing our home now. Are there any tips that you have to ease our anxiety about the first placement that we may have in the near future?
Yeah, so depending on your age, prepare for any age. So let's say you're 10 and under, prepare for kids 10 and under. Have everything. If they don't come with something, just know you can always run to the store.
Yeah. Send your husband to the store.
Oh, yeah,
Hey, you
we
get
do
a
it every
call,
time.
We know there's an 8-year-old coming.
Yep, exactly. Prepare for if they come late, you always want to have a different size clothes for them, pajamas, toothbrushes. Prepare for the things that you can have. Because then you want them, if they're older, you want them to go pick their own stuff out too.
Yeah.
You want them to have that creativity and individuality. Other than that, just have a binder ready. I always had 3 binders ready to put all the paperwork in right away so you don't misplace it. It's a lot of paperwork you're getting the first day. Prepare for that. Have white binders ready for their names on them. Other than that, prepare to just take it chill. Like you're gonna get a call and you're gonna feel your body literally like go into like a panic mode.
And it doesn't matter how many times you get that call, because you still call me and you'll be like, we're getting a place in it, and you will be in this like erratic
You're like
energy.
moving. You're about to take on a child. No, you're gonna feel that. But take a deep breath before they walk in and know that you are ready and prepared for this. And if you're not, ask for help. Agency caseworkers, they're ready for new foster parents. So
how would you feel like you could offer advice to somebody, because they're going to have to hear why that child was removed? And that's going to be hard.
So
that's like the first conversation you have is.
So actually when they call you, they tell you a baseline. So like this girl is coming in. This is a neglect case. I'm being generic here. This is a neglect case. She was found here. She has this wrong with her. She went to the hospital and this, and this. You know, it can be broken bone, all of this. So you mentally can prepare for it then. Because you can say, I don't have the capacity to take that on right now because somebody else will. So you're going to hear it right away, and they don't give all the details. It's very generic, and then they'll get to you, and you can ask more questions.
Yeah.
And so you do have a little bit of time because they give you a little breakdown of what's going on, and then you're going to learn real quickly how to put a poker face on when that baby walks in that room.
That would
any
be
of the
me.
ages, an 18-year-old to a baby, you're going to have a poker face like, I'm just here to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to be there to comfort the child.
Yep.
First and foremost. Somebody has asked, what's the most rewarding thing about being a foster mom?
I love being a mom. I love being a mom and caring for children. The most, I think, rewarding thing that I've had is seeing children go home and their parents really excel, because a lot of times these families aren't given the opportunity or resources to care for their child. And that sounds bad because you're like, well, we're not giving resources either. But a lot of times it's either someone who doesn't have a support system.
Yeah.
Financially, they're not stable. They've had some mental health. They've also been neglected. They've been in the system. And so I think it's really, really rewarding for me to get close to some moms and like them to look to me for help and mentorship, and then see them excel with their babies. That's super rewarding when they go home and you get to experience that. You were there through it all. Other than that, you know, I just love caring for them how they should be. I think they need to be treated like your own babies.
If a baby is breastfeeding when they go into care, do they have to be swapped to formula?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Unfortunately. So there will be a visit in most cases, depending on what happened. There's a visit within the first 7 days. A child has to have a visit with their mom, their parents. And so at that visit, mom can continue to breastfeed, and they can also bring milk as long as it's testing clean. And it has to test clean every single time. But absolutely, if they want to bring a thermos of it, you know, and the foster parent will still continue to give that baby formula. Breast milk. But yes, automatically, like as soon as they get to the hospital, they're going to go ahead and put them on to a formula until mom can either test positive or bring milk. Yeah.
This kind of goes hand in hand with dates anyways. It said, do you get much of a heads up before receiving a child or when a child leaves you?
Yeah. So, when they call, I just explain that you do get an update. And
It's like an hour though before they come to your house. It's not that much.
No, it's not that long. They'll be
It's
like,
enough
okay,
for them to get paperwork and get the child in order.
Yeah. Like they'll call you, you'll say yes. And then they'll be like, okay, like we'll do some paperwork. And then they'll call or text you like, okay, we're there. We're on our way in an hour. So I would say between 1 and 3 hours it takes for the child to come. Now for the child to leave, depending on how long the case is, I do know when they're going to leave.
Yeah.
So depending on court cases, things like that, I've never had a call and then the next day they leave.
I was going to say, they don't just call you and be like, hey, everything's good.
No,
We're coming
unless
to pick them
something
up.
happened with the foster parent, because they will come snatch a baby real quick if there's some weird things going on. Or
I'm sure there is.
well, yeah. Well, like, you know, foster parents, you know, they're experiencing life too. You know, things happen. And if they believe that environment's not great, they'll come take the baby right away. But for leaving to go home, you have time to prepare. And even if like they call me like on a Wednesday, they're like, hey, Cyndi, like this baby is going to be going home. When are you available for that? So they could even give me 7 days for me to fully prepare for that. The shortest amount of time that I've had is like 2 weeks to fully prepare. And that prepared the child. But they're actually very courteous about that because like all mine have been long term. And so I've had plenty of time to prepare. Yeah.
Very nice.
I would love for other foster parents to weigh in if you've had in different states, if they don't give you time. From my experience, I've had time.
Yeah, because this is Texas that we're talking about. You've not fostered in any other state.
No. And here they give you time. For sure.
How do I get started with fostering? Are there any requirements?
Yeah, so like the easiest way to get started is to hit Google and look up foster care agency and then your county, and so
I'm sure they'll help you.
Oh yeah,
know.
literally that's it. So like I can't guide you any farther than that because like you'll see one agency, let's say Heart to Heart agency. You'll click it and they'll tell you when they have information night. And then once you talk to them or call them, they will literally give you a list of what you need to do, when to do it, and that's how you'll prepare. They'll give you a list of everything.
Very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
But try different agencies is what I like to tell people.
Have you ever had an unsafe encounter with an aggressive parent or family member?
No. So in my experience, the first couple of months, CPS keeps bio parents and foster parents separated. Even when we're at the CPS office, we pull to the back of the building. Bio parents pull to the front. And so that's the only time. There's no interaction for the first couple of months until they're deemed safe. So I have never. Now, I have heard of angry parents, about visits. And, they're mad at the system. And I've heard things happen for the caseworkers, but not for me. I've never had a bad experience, thankfully.
Do you have a story time you could share with somebody else?
So I don't know any of these parties, but when you're at a CPS office, you can see children go in. Like I'll wait in the parking lot for the children to come out, and you'll see other parties there, and you'll see caseworkers sometimes arguing with bio parents, bio parents getting upset. I don't think I've ever experienced a foster parent. They're always in the back, and so, but I have seen people get really upset, and it has never anything to do with me. I try to make it really,
just like verbal arguments.
Yeah, that's really all I can say. But you guys could imagine, you're upset your kids are taken. You're upset that you're not getting what you want. You don't, or sometimes you think that the foster family is treating your kids a certain way, or you don't even like how they dress them, right? So little things like that could definitely.
It's a sensitive situation
It
for
really
everybody
is.
involved.
It
So
is.
I'm sure it's touchy.
But I do what I'm supposed to. I drop in the back. I love these babies. I communicate. Like the first couple months, I have a notebook where I write to the parent, like, "Hey, mom, so-and-so did this week," and from the first day,
You are really good about that too, though. You'll take like the handprint milestones.
I will.
She'll do all those things, and you box them for the families.
Yes, and then I also include them. We had a child come before Halloween, and I was like, "Is there a costume that you would like them to be?"
That's so nice.
And things like that. And so I include them a lot. And even the first day, I'm like, they did well adjusting. They're at our home now. Or say, you have a bottle that they like, and I kind of include them so they know that they're included. So I haven't had that experience, and I hope to never have that experience. But I know some have. I've heard some stories, but they're not mine to share.
Are you still open to adopting?
We are. So we are a foster to adopt home. That means if they do not reunify, that we will continue to care for that child. We would adopt. And we did this because here in the state of Texas, if your child comes up for adoption, you basically have an ultimatum to adopt them or send them to another adoptive home. There's no permanent guardiancy here. And so if we have a child long term, why would we not want to love them forever? Is how we believe.
You've already experienced so much with that child.
Yeah. And so if it's the best circumstance for the child, absolutely. But if there's siblings out
And
there.
for your family.
And for our family, exactly. But if there's siblings out there or something, we will definitely be for the child's best interest.
It's been 6 months since you guys adopted. I guess darn near 7 now. And so is there any updates on that? How's that been?
Oh, it's good. I guess from the time that they told me I was going to adopt, you let your wall down.
Yeah, you did.
And I don't know, Foxy boy, that's my baby.
You looked at him differently suddenly. You could see it in your eyes. There was something different there all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And I love the relationship him and Bear have.
Oh my god,
they're the best of buddies.
They are.
Those are brothers. And Bear will tell you, that's my brother.
They are. I don't know. I guess nothing. Life went as normal because he's our son, and there's nothing else. We did get his birth certificate.
Fox boy.
That made me really emotional.
It has your name on it?
Has my name on it, and that literally made me cry because I had his other birth certificate too.
Yeah.
And that made me cry.
Will you keep both?
Yes. Oh yes.
You'll give him both?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's something that I'm really big on. I've learned a lot from the internet about adopting. adoptees, and that's really important to me.
His parents still exist.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
His biological parents, I should say, because you guys are his parents.
Yes.
But his biological parents are out there.
Yes.
And he may seek some sort of a relationship.
Yeah. And that was an emotional thing. I got that thing in the middle. I was like, oh my gosh.
Right, because you've seen his first name.
I replaced
seen
his
everything.
mom's name there. And that to me is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I'm honored.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you didn't take it from anyone.
no.
There was no one else there to fill
And I
the
will cherish
position.
him forever.
Oh, he's so fun, y'all. He's so fun.
He's so
He got a haircut.
I know.
He looks so cute.
Yeah.
Are haircuts easy for y'all? Haircuts are hard for
Oh,
us.
nah, they're easy for me.
Oh, man.
I was
haircuts
actually
are
telling
hard.
Jay about that. I'm like, I have no connection to my hair. Like, I literally don't care.
Oh, I don't mean in that sense. I mean just like for the baby.
Oh,
Is it
so
hard?
his
How
first
do you
one we
help
did
with
at
that?
Disney World.
I saw.
Oh yeah, I was like tearing up, and then we just took a little off. We trimmed him up, cleaned it up, and then the haircut that he just got, Jay's husband Kyler did, and I literally felt so
It's so
much about
short.
it. He looks like a
so
toddler. He grew up, and then Bear
got a
loved
little
it.
high and tight.
He did just like his brother Bear, and so I think it's so cute. But yeah, it is a big deal. I have both of their hair from their haircuts. Someone asked me if I
have
got
Boston's.
foxes. Yeah, I saved them all.
Oh my gosh, that brings me to I have a friend whose mother-in-law cut her daughter's hair.
Oh heck
Her
no.
first haircut. She just turned 1 and she cut bangs on her.
Oh no.
Oh my God. I was like, are
be
you
so
okay?
sad.
And she was like, it was devastating and it was so hard and I can't bring myself to let her watch the kids. And I'm like, I can't blame you because like what a break of trust.
Why would you
for
do
her
that?
Why would you do that? What?
No.
That is just asking for trouble.
Absolutely
That is asking for trouble. Oh, yeah. Were you scared to start foster care?
So I was excited to become a foster parent.
I think you always knew.
Yeah, but I was scared when I first started, like bringing a child into my home.
I have to say,
And
holding
then-
that first baby, how did that
Oh
feel?
my gosh. So our first placement, she was 2, and that was so sad. And then 2 days later, I got a baby. So like it was back to back. It was literally like from 1 to 3 kids within literally 3 days. And I cry every child that I get, but those first ones were like,
I know. I see how heavy it is for you because I can see it in your face whenever you get a placement and you see the child and everything that you've heard already, how much of a safe space you're trying to create for that baby.
yeah. And like the first time, it was so scary because I'm like, how am I going to protect this baby? And the first 2 times I heard about what happened to the first 2, oh my God, I'm telling Chris, like, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
Like, you're angry. 'Cause
You're
you don't know
gonna
how
hear
to
the craziest things
And I
ever.
didn't know how to react at that time because I
Yeah.
was new to it. I'm like, am I supposed to like be mean to the mom? Am I supposed to,
Yeah.
put a guard up? But then
How am I supposed to
that
feel?
first mom,
Look at
oh my God, he has us on there.
Jay is out there videoing himself eating something.
So that first mom helped me because I'd see her in the parking lot crying. Oh, and
That would just...
yeah, and I'll never forget
I'd be
that
ripped to shreds.
after a couple of months, this 2-year-old, she started to call me mom. And I never ever say that. I always said Miss Cyndi, but Bear was calling me mom. And Bear and her,
They pick it up.
They were only a couple months apart, Bear and her. And so she picked it up because Bear, mama, mama. So anytime she needs something, mama, and she still knew me as Miss Cyndi or Mama
Mm-hmm.
Cyndi. And then her mom heard it. And her mom was heartbroken. And her mom told the caseworker, like, hey, I want her to call her this. And I would never take that position. I never
Right.
want to. And that mom, who she actually listens to our podcast, so she's going to know exactly
Hi.
who she is. And she's commented on it before. But she helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Because she was a real person that made this mistake. And she rocked it. Within 6 months, had her baby back. And she helped me. She helped me learn that no, they're not scary.
They're people.
They want their babies to be safe too.
Yeah.
And that literally was game changer for me.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
So yeah.
I don't know how
Thank
I
you
do
to that mom for being my first.
Yeah.
First
It was
one.
meant to be that way.
Yeah.
Then
And
because
she's thriving. I see pictures of her now.
of baby.
She's big now.
I'm about to say,
'Cause
she's
Bear's
Bear's
age.
age.
Yeah. And so that was it. And that's what I always encourage other foster parents to do. Try to let that guard down.
Yeah.
Man. These parents love their kids. Okay.
Remember, they're
There's
humans.
just things around them that can alter and just change you as a person. But yeah.
Absolutely. You're the right person to foster. So
thank you.
You genuinely are. I know that I'm not, which is why I'm not.
Yeah.
Not because I would be judgy, but because I'm just far too empathetic in the sense that it would ruin me.
Yeah.
It would ruin me.
Yeah. It's good to know. It's good to know.
Yes. Let's see here. What do you feel your hardest battle has been as a foster parent?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I have a lot of things. I don't know. It's hard for me because like I struggle with, my emotions when it comes to children leaving.
Yes.
And I'm good at it, but it's like that's a sad thing to be good at, saying goodbye to kids.
Absolutely.
And so my struggle, I guess, would be, or something I battle with is like sharing those emotions with people and being vulnerable for myself. Like I can be vulnerable for the kids and like take their vulnerability, but I have a really hard time with sharing those types of things.
Well, I think you don't want to be judged either. You don't want people to look at you like you were trying to keep that child. It's just sad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad whenever someone that you love leaves.
Yeah.
No matter who they are.
Yeah. And like, I think a lot of people will say like, well, you're not their mom, but I'm like, yeah, I was for a little while.
I was a stand-in.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
And I'm not their mom, but I was the motherly figure. I was there all day, 24 hours a day.
For the last 6 months, I've woken up every day and gone to check on them immediately. And tomorrow, whenever I go, that bed will be empty and it's going to mess with me.
So you're telling me from the time they walk in my house, hearing about what happened, picking up the pieces, dealing with the trauma,
Gluing it back together.
Holding
space for their parents at the same time.
Exactly. Co-parenting with their parents and having continued trauma throughout the kids, because every time is trauma, no matter what.
Every time they see their
parent
parent.
at a visit. And then when they get to the end, letting them go back to something that happened to them is very hard to do.
And hoping that history will not repeat itself.
Yeah. It's very hard to do. Hoping that their parents going to really treat the trauma really going to help them with the trauma that they experienced, not just put it under the rug because it's gone now, because it's not
right.
gone
It
now.
doesn't exist anymore. It happened.
We're
And
back.
it's over.
Yeah. No. And continue with things that I'm doing, therapies and stuff. So that's really hard. That's got to be the thing I struggle with the most is that. And now I see a lot of them and I'm like grateful because they're doing really well, but some aren't. And I've had a call, the kids have came back into care and I haven't been able to say yes because I've had a full home. That's very hard.
Right, when they'd be comfortable with you.
Yeah.
And now they have to go somewhere else. That just adds more trauma.
Yep. Very hard. And I have these pictures in my phone from years that I can't delete. And Chris is like, and I send them to their parents and Chris is like, well, why not hold on to someone? I'm just like, I can't. Like, it's a part of me now. Yeah. They're a part of me now.
Yeah, forever. It's a part of your story.
Yeah.
It's a part of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, oh man. Well, that concludes these questions, but I think I'm just going to rapid fire a couple random ones for you, just off of basic things that people may not know about foster care.
Okay.
Do you get WIC?
Yes.
So you do have government assistance?
Children 5 and under
Okay.
get WIC.
Okay.
Yep,
What is included in that? It's like baby food,
Yeah.
milk.
So baby 12 months and under, they get formula, and then a baby a year and up, they get milk, dairy, beans.
Diapers?
Nope.
Wipes?
Nope.
Do you get paid by the government
Yeah.
to have things like that? Is it a lot?
So we get a monthly stipend, and it's basically, so every day you get an amount of money, and it's every state's different actually, and it's not a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people tend to
I
think that
literally
they'll
was
join
be-
foster care for money.
Yeah, no, that is literally wild to
Yep.
me. And some people do. I don't know how they can. I literally can spend that at Target in one day on the kids.
Right.
People
And
see
then
how
I'm
much I
spending
shop.
extra.
Shoot. It's not a lot, but it is enough, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's say you want to put a kid, it's supposed to help, like, if you want to put them in a sport, you have that. If they want to,
Yeah.
especially children and, like, older kids who are doing, like, high school stuff.
They need
You
activities.
have the money. It's their money. So,
It's
like,
their money.
It's their money, exactly. So, like, even for us, I have babies, but it's literally going to them.
Right.
Like, we go to the zoo, we go everywhere. And so it's not a lot, but we do get help.
You also send the child home with anything you've bought them,
Everything.
from toys to clothes.
And I've had so
everything.
many people like, why? Like, can't you save for your next kid? I'm like, no.
It's for this
First of all, my
child.
house would be a pack rat.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine if you kept everything? Literally. You already have so
have
many
so many
things
things.
just to make sure that you'll be
Yes.
prepared. So
Yes.
I can't imagine if you
No.
kept everything.
And it's theirs. Like they're bonded with it, even down to their bed, their car seat. That's
Yeah.
their stuff.
Yeah.
And so like, and also there are some things I keep because I do ask the parent. I'm like, hey, do you actually want this? And they're like, no, we have one. But no, it is their stuff. And we bought it for them. There's no need for us to keep it.
Nice.
No.
Okay, let me think here. Some other random questions. I know a lot of the answers, so I have to be like,
I know. Yes.
Gotta ask real questions here for y'all.
I know when people have been asking me.
Have you ever had a case where you've never met a parent?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So sometimes, like, parents don't come to anything. And so it's very unfortunate. But, yeah, I've had a few. And then they'll either go to family members or there's other circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people ask me, or they've been asking me
Common
recently.
questions, yeah.
Yeah, that are we going to continue to foster long term? I've got that question a lot because people have not seen me take a new placement because we're kind of just chilling where we're at. But I don't know what our adventure looks like, our life. I say that like me and Chris's adventure on this life, right? We don't know how long things are going to last. But what I can tell you most definitely is that I will never make my family feel stressed or like my kids aren't getting enough attention.
Yeah.
And so like right now, I know for a fact I can't take on another kid because Bear needs a lot of my attention.
Yeah. You
at this
homeschool
age.
too.
Yeah, he's at this age. He needs a lot of my attention. Things in his life that just needs us a lot. Then we have Fox, who's 1 and just like into everything and just, you know, at this age. And then I have a baby who Fox and Itty Bitty Girl are only 9 months apart. So they're Irish twins technically. And so she's just getting older and older and I'm about to have 2 toddlers.
Moving.
And so I don't know what it's going to look like for a couple years. I think people are like, why aren't you taking more kids? You can take more kids. You can take more kids. I could take more kids, but how is that fair to the children?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to make sure they all feel loved. Bear has needed my attention a lot more. Just things in our life, right? I'm not going to go into detail, but Bear has craved our attention, wanted it more, asked for it in different ways that we've seen that we know right now, we can't take any more. What we have is good. So
Nice. Yeah. Very nice. Well, I know Jay is also a foster parent. He's an adoptive parent now. I don't believe his home is open. But we're going to bring him in and see
Jay in.
what he has to say too.
Alrighty.
All right, guys, welcome back. We brought Jay
Hi,
in.
guys.
We've got some questions for him about foster care too. I think these are going to go both ways.
Yeah, I agree.
I think y'all are about to answer these together.
Yeah. So first of all, Jay, explain your experience with foster care to adoption, please.
Yes.
Please tell the people how fast you had children.
Yeah, for real. So we started fostering 4 years ago. In July, it would have been our 5th year. Wow. So I'm like,
Same
I feel like
time.
we're very similar. Like, oh my goodness. So we have fostered 21 children.
Whoa.
21
I didn't
children.
know that. Holy
21
baloney.
children.
They had a lot of back-to-back babies.
Why did
We
I think it was
did.
immediately the 5?
Oh.
Yeah, we had 20. We've fostered 21 children. Obviously, 5 stayed permanently, and so 16 have moved on either to be reunified, which is a goal of foster care, or they have been placed in other homes for adoption or whatever the case may be. But we've had 21 kids, and I think 3 of those actually were like respite that we had for a couple of days. I think it was like 4 or 5 days.
Can y'all explain respite to people who are listening who have no idea what you're talking about? Because I know what you're saying, but I wouldn't
people
have
don't.
a couple months
Right.
ago.
Yes.
So respite is in sense kind of like babysitting in a sense. So like say if you're a foster parent and you are going on vacation and the children do not get approved to travel.
Because they do
Right.
have to be approved to travel
Yes,
with y'all.
they do.
So if you're in here in Texas, like if you're traveling in the state, you do not have to get permission.
No.
You do have to notify the caseworker, right? Just let them know, like, hey, what location are you going to? Who's going to be there, right? But you don't have to get approval. Now, if you're going outside of the state, you have to get approval. And obviously, if the parents are involved, the parents' approval
I was just going to ask that.
is needed as well, which I
Is
mean,
it
it
the
makes
foster
sense, right?
system
For
or the
them to
parent?
know,
Yep.
like, hey, my child's going here. Oh, great. You know what I mean? So you do have to get it approved. So respite care is really beneficial. And usually respite care is other licensed foster parents in your area who you basically say, hey, can you watch my children for a couple of days for X
Yes.
amount of reason.
And do you reach out to them, or does your agency do it for you?
A little bit of both. Like
Yeah.
I've had a situation where I became really good friends with some foster parents, and we would just babysit for each other. Like, hey, can you watch my kids this day? Sure. Can I?
Yeah.
And vice
Your
versa.
agency tries to help you get respite care, but I get it on my own every time because I know people that I trust with my children.
Do you need to let your agency know
Yeah.
that you're leaving them
Yep.
with that person?
Yeah. So if they're not in your agency,
I was going to say, do they have to go
have to
check
fill-
their
yeah.
homes?
no, they're already licensed. So basically, our
If
agency.
you're licensed, you're good. You
You're
just
good.
provide your
They'll-
proof of license.
That's right. They'll just contact their agency and just make sure they're up to date on all of the state's requirements, and then that's it.
Every agency is different because we did do foster care for an acquaintance. So for their agency, it was a requirement that we had to fill out a form. Like they knew that we were licensed and everything. They just wanted us to fill out the form, put our information on there, and we just had to send it back to them, and it was good.
Yeah.
But that's what respite care is.
And it's over 72 hours because
Yes.
our approved babysitters can watch our children for up to 72 hours. So my mom can watch my kids up to 72 hours.
Without you notifying the agency.
Yeah,
no,
so you
we
can-
have to notify
You
the
still have to
agency.
notify them, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going out for this
Yes.
weekend. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're very, very involved.
So like right now, y'all are probably watching this and we are in Vegas or went to Vegas and my mom is able to
Potentially.
watch my children. So that's respite care. So Jay did respite and foster. And then how'd that road go?
Yeah, so when we got licensed, literally 2 weeks later, we had 2 kids. And then 2 weeks later after that, we got 2 more kids. And so we went from 0 to 4 kids in less than 30 days. And it was wild. But we were just so eager to help. And I just wanted to help, and I couldn't say no. And at our agency, they called us the gay dads who never say no, which is so funny.
Because it is hard to say no.
I know.
I
and
would be that girl.
Fun fact is that when we had our first 2 placements, it was 2, and I was like, we can only handle 2, Kyler. And he was like, no, we can do 4. And so I was like, okay, what else? And so they called us, and the call was actually for a sibling group of 3. But our agency thought that since we had just been licensed, we could handle 2 more. And so that call was for Grayson, Amor, and Ari. And so I did it. I was gonna say no because I was like, this is a lot. Like we just got licensed, and then I felt guilty because they didn't have a placement. They were like, they would have slept in the CPS office if that would have happened. And I was like, oh dear Jesus, I don't want that to happen.
And they were little.
Yep. And so they
little
were able to
babies.
find a home for Grayson to go to, which breaks my heart. And then Amor and Ari came to our home. And how
How old were they?
Ari was 9 months. Amor was 18 months, and Grayson was barely 3.
I think a lot of people don't realize that is that they'll break up kids.
Yeah,
I've had
it's
2
sad.
cases where 2 went one way and 1 went another way, but they need homes, and some homes can only take 2 at a time.
They do try to
Oh,
put
they
them
do
together
try.
first.
Yeah,
They
and I
try.
think it's a struggle because for people to take on sibling groups, it's extremely hard. I've known sibling groups of like 5.
Yeah.
There was a sibling group in our area that was 9.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, even
very
in Texas, the limit that you can have is 6. And
was
then
about
it's
to
like,
ask.
what foster parent has that room in their home? Like they probably are brand new where they do have
Yeah.
the license for 6 kids, but it depends. Everyone's licensed
Yeah.
for a different amount of children, and it's based off of your house.
Yeah.
And so,
But also, like, you could be licensed for 4 and already have 2 filled. So, like, for me,
Yes.
I'm licensed for 3. And so, like, at one time, I was only able to take 2 of the siblings, but they have to get them somewhere.
yes,
And it's sad, and then trying to keep that bond with the kids has been.
Then you're working out with another foster parent,
Yes.
trying to get them together more often than just parent visits, I'm sure.
yeah. And so I felt like when we were fostering, one kid would be reunified or whatever. They would leave our home on a Tuesday, and Wednesday we had a new placement. Like that, it was that quick, and so it was a lot. And I think that we continued that train for, I would say about maybe like a year and a half, maybe like a year. And I wasn't processing like letting them go. I was just moving. Because when you're moving, you have no time to.
Yep. Keep
When
saying
you're really
yes.
busy, you're like.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then eventually it hit me, and then I had to process all of that because it does take a toll on you,
Yes, it does.
right? When the children leave, I understand that the goal of foster care is reunification, but it's still a lot when they leave because you
Right.
fall in love with these children. And I always say, when they come into our home, whether it's 3 days, 6 months, whatever, they're going to be a part of the Laura's family, and I'm always going to love them. And I know the goal is for them to be reunified, but it's still it still hurts.
Yeah.
You talked about the pictures in your phone. I have hundreds of pictures and videos in my phone, and the iPhone does like that memory thing.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're down memory lane, and you're like,
Yep.
oh my God. And then I think the thought that always gets me is, I wonder how they are. Because sometimes when they're reunified or they move on or they're adopted or whatever, you don't continue that communication. Out of the 21 that we've had, obviously, so out of the 16, I only speak to one. I only know how one is doing.
That was actually one of the questions, if we still talk to some of ours.
Right? Yeah, I only speak to one, and she actually they live in DFW, and so we'll be able to be close and see her.
That's
So
wild.
that's
That's so
exciting.
sweet.
But out of the other ones, I don't see anymore, and that's always the question: is I hope that they're loved, I hope they're respected, I hope they're valued. So we literally were fostering, and the goal wasn't to adopt. And the interesting thing is, because when people think of my 4 children, like, they think that we adopted immediately, and it took 3 years to get to that point. So traditionally speaking, when a child enters foster care, the case is originally set for a year.
Yes.
And they have a year to basically complete the services and plan that CPS has given them, put forth, right? And so what happens is, we're consistently having meetings to check in to see how the parents are doing, see how the children are doing, see how everything is going. And when you get to maybe like a 6-month mark, 9-month and 12-month, you're having these status hearings to kind of be like, hey, are we on track? Or, where are we going? And so there is a time where an extension can be granted based off of whatever the situation is. And so our situation with our 4 siblings, there was, I think, like 3 or 4 extensions that really happened. A lot of moving pieces that I can't go into detail. It's not my story to tell. But there was, I think, like at least 4 extensions that we ended up having, and it did take us into 3 years. And so it's interesting because I didn't know that. Like, obviously I was new to that part. And so, but there was a point, I would say about a year and a half into it, they did say the goal is going to be switching to adoption. And so they asked us if we would, and of course we said yes at that point. I mean, they had been in our home for literally a year and a half, and so it did switch the goal. And
Just Amor and Ari at that point.
Amor and Ari. So we had Amor and Ari, I would say, for about a year and a couple of months, and then right when the goal decided to change, they said, well, you do know that there's another brother. And I said, of course. So when we went to visits weekly, Grayson would also go to the visits. And so I would see Grayson this part makes me so sad, guys, because just to think that there was a time where Grayson was experiencing foster care, and he wasn't with us. It honestly kind of makes me feel guilty that I'm like, we should have been able to handle 5 at the time that we did, because then Grayson could have been with us in our home the whole time, and he wouldn't have had to have gone to like a different home or something. But at the time, I mean, we had only been licensed for literally 4 weeks, and we went from 0 to 4 kids in less than a month. And so I'm not sure that we would have been able to handle 5 at the time. Obviously now we have it down, but in that moment, like, I understand why the agency went that route, but it breaks my heart now to, where we are. But so they said, would you take him? And I said, of course. I had met Grayson every day. He would say hi to us. He would, see his brothers and sisters. And so then we worked on a plan. What is the plan called? It's I don't remember what the name is, but basically it's kind of like a plan to introduce them into your home. So you start with visits, weekend visits, so that way they get acclimated to our home. And next thing you know, he was in our home, and it was interesting for sure. But it just vibed. It just went so well from day one. Like, he walked in, and it was like, I mean, it is his home, but he walked in like it was his home. Him and his siblings were just all 3 playing together. It was a blessing to see them play and happy with each other. And he just ran into our routine and just fit in like he had been there the whole time. There was not a transition period where it was a struggle or anything. I mean, it was seamless. And so yeah, I mean, so that he ended up coming, and then that was, in April, and 2 weeks later, Kingston was born. And
I was just going to ask that.
yeah, 2 weeks later, Kingston was born, and he was placed in our home
Immediately.
And you had kids
For
go home before
adoption
that.
or for foster care, since you already knew that because they have the same mother.
No. So because Kingston was not attached to the first case. So for example, my first 3 siblings, when they
Starts
were
over.
removed, that was one case. And so when CPS found enough terms for Kingston to be removed, that opened a whole new case. And so they were separate. So it was very interesting because we were at a point where we were potentially going to be adopting them, right? It was on the table. We had said yes, we were on that road. And then Kingston came in, and his was just foster care. It was no goal of adoption or anything. It's like they're 2 separate cases.
Yeah.
Just because they are going to be adopted does not mean you're adopting this child. It's 2
I think
separate
that's
things.
so interesting from the mother's point of view to be like, well, I know that this family has the other children, and then to only obviously there's circumstances that people that are not aware of, but that's very interesting that it could be that 2 extremes,
2 different cases.
that eventually she could have been reunified with Kingston and Kingston alone.
Yeah, and so we just went down that path, and one of the reasons why another extension happened, the 3 siblings originally, Grayson, Amor, and Ari, were ready to be adopted, is that the judge and everyone felt that we should wait for Kingston. And so obviously it went to that point where even that case went to termination. And so they withheld the 3 siblings. They said, let's hold off really quick. We can wait a couple of months and you can adopt them all together. And so that's exactly what we did. But it took 3 years to get there. And it was so interesting because I knew that she was pregnant, but she had never admitted it to the court. But we all would see her. I mean, you can't really hide that. Finally, she admitted it. And then literally she was like, oh, when are you due? And they're like, the 29th. I'm like, of what month? And they're like, next Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
It was that close. And so I was like, oh my goodness. And so things happened very quickly. And so we actually had we had a foster daughter who had just went home. And so, cause we were at 6, but she had just been reunified with her mom. And so that left us a spot open. And so when Kingston came into care, they were like, are you taking him? And I was like, yes, we will. Right. Whether it's long-term, short-term. And so he came, and that's when we were, at 6.
Because you had Talia at
Yeah,
that point
because at this
as well.
point you had Talia.
Talia was already adopted
Yes.
at that point.
Yes.
She was adopted. Oh,
She
wow.
had just been adopted in January of that same year.
How long was that entire process? Because that had to have been very quick then if
Talia's it really took a year.
Yeah.
And every
Pretty
case
standard.
is different. And with that case, some cases move quickly depending on the situation, and some cases take longer.
It's wild to me how different cases can be.
Absolutely.
Because Fox we adopted in 10 months.
Yeah, that's
Like,
my thought
at
is I
the
keep
day.
thinking about that.
So like for
But
his
y'all knew
circumstances,
even before then.
his was a very rare case.
Unique.
Termination at 6, adoption at 9, and then it just got pushed to the next month, which was 10 months.
Yeah.
That's
Ours-
Jay's was for Talia was a little bit different.
Ours was it was pretty quick from what I had seen or
Yeah.
what I know. I hadn't adopted
Yeah.
or anything, but I think it was around the 6-month mark. The goal had changed to potential adoption. Obviously, kinship was on the plate where a family member could have stepped up, but that didn't happen. So then they asked us if we would adopt, and we said yes. And then we were set to kind of potentially terminate rights and adopt sooner, but then circumstances happened, and so we at the 12-month mark, termination happened, and literally 2 months later, like it was extremely quick, the adoption happened. And so every case can be completely different. And
So that does happen when there is an active parent.
Yeah.
And because they were family.
He
kinship-
wasn't active whenever it
can
happened.
be
He was
agreed upon by the
incarcerated.
parties.
Yeah,
and
kinship
avoid
is a
the-
very different road. Kinship doesn't get a lot of resources and things like that.
I wonder.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, they do not.
And that person is still, even though he lives with his biological dad full time, that person that is signed under kinship still has custody of him
Yes.
2 weeks out of the year.
Yes.
So he still comes to Texas. That's whenever I get to see him, is because we live local to her. And she actually is who has
Yeah.
my other nephew, who was taken immediately from the hospital and was placed with her from the very beginning.
And it's very interesting. Obviously, in every case, the goal is hopefully that the children will be reunified with their
Yeah.
parents. And then if that's not an option, hopefully there are kinship available. So kinship could be like an immediate family member, like an aunt, an uncle, a brother, sister, or also it could be like a friend
Yeah,
of the
someone
family,
you've chosen.
a church friend, a
Ours is a
family
church
friend,
friend.
Yes.
anything like that. And sometimes it's just very unfortunate that some people don't have that village or someone to step up and
yeah.
do it. I know, in our case, we had 3 siblings, and obviously went into 4 siblings, and there was never a placement.
Yeah.
It's very hard, honestly, to
Yeah.
find a placement for
Yeah.
a sibling
lot
group,
of babies
right?
to take
Yeah,
on.
because
I don't think, and I don't think people know that before a child comes to a foster parent, they will literally call every single person a parent gives. It's not straight to a foster parent.
Yeah.
The parents, they say, do you have a list of people we can call? That could be 10 people.
That you trust with
And
your
they'll
child.
call all of them before they call us.
Yep.
We are the last person that they call.
Yeah, and even for example, like in our case, while we were fostering, there was a lot of times where they were with us and they're like, "Oh, we have a potential kinship placement."
Yes.
And CPS was exploring that option and seeing if that was going to be a good fit or if that was going to be approved. CPS approves that. They just let us know, like, "Hey, there's a potential kinship placement, and we're going to explore, look into it, and then we'll let you know based off of that." And then you go to court, and,
Right.
and you, as a foster parent, you're able to attend, and the judge rules and CPS rules, and so you do understand that. And so
Yeah.
for our case, there's just there was no kinship available for our children, and so the judge consistently ruled that it was in the best interest of the children to stay with us and to stay together. Because I think that another important thing, like for me to have siblings, while kind of looking in that realm, is that while they weren't able to go with an aunt, an uncle, a kinship placement, at the end of the day, they are still with
together.
their family.
Yes.
Obviously, Amor, Grayson, and Ari knew each other, were around each other. And so that in itself, they're still with their brothers and their siblings,
right.
their family. And so I'm like, well, if they're not able to do that, at least stay together, because it is extremely hard to find foster homes to take in sibling groups. And it's very heartbreaking because I've seen where children have come into care and to have been sent to different counties or all over the state of Texas. And it just breaks my heart because you're already going through something extremely traumatic.
Yeah.
You're separated
And to
from
be
your parents,
separated.
and then now you're separating from your brothers and sisters, and you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I've had that, and I was telling Paige about the trauma that the visits bring. They're important and they must be done. But imagine 2 coming from here, 2 coming from me, and the bio parents. That is so traumatic.
It's a heartbreak on
leave.
multiple
Oh,
levels.
it is. And like when I would see some of my children's siblings, I was so heartbroken because I'm like, oh gosh, they need to be raised with each other. So
I can just remember as a child, like seeing my siblings, getting to see them for visits and such
Yeah.
whenever I was younger, and just like crying in the car whenever I would leave, not knowing when. So I can only
It's
imagine.
extremely hard because you're like, I'm not with my parents, I'm not with my siblings, and it just causes a lot of emotions. I remember, we fostered quite a bit of young children, so I don't think we were able to have a conversation to say how, we would try to say like, how are you feeling? Like, it's okay. Like try to have them verbalize those feelings, because it's a lot. I mean, if I, as a foster parent, felt the energy, I can just imagine them, the parents. I mean, it's a lot.
So a lot of questions Jay answered as he was talking.
Yeah.
He explained a lot of things.
We still have a couple.
Yeah, there's some like rapid question ones that you could answer. Is that, are you still open? Right? Is your home still open to foster right now?
So we are not. So after our last foster placement, we just had a lot of moving pieces, and Kyler and I thought like it's time to take a moment, right? Just for our family and focus on what we have, right? I think at that point I was really ramping up like to do social media as my second full-time job. And then the kids had so many sports. Like Grayson was in 2 sports at one time. Amor was in ballet and dance at the same
You
time.
have
5
kids.
children.
Yeah, and
That's
then
what I was
5
gonna say.
kids. And I work
You
full-time.
literally have 5 children.
5 kids. Like
Yeah, and so
that would overwhelm
Your cup is
anyone.
literally full.
yeah, no, my cup was really full, and Kyler and I decided to not continue to foster, and we had an open license. Now, what ended up happening is the agency that we were licensed through closed.
Oh, wow.
And so closed, and we had an opportunity to go to another agency. But at that point, we decided like our cup is pretty full.
Yes.
Once we're ready to continue to foster, then we will get relicensed. And then when we knew we were moving, then I was like, okay, for sure. Like we'll go to a new agency.
Yeah.
And so I think that one of the things that I tell Kyler is we can help the foster community in a different
That's
way.
right.
Absolutely.
Right. So
right.
right now we might not be licensed foster parents, but we can help in other ways, right? You can definitely donate
Yes.
any clothes, gently used clothes, anything in general. You can donate in that fashion. You can go and help out.
Yeah.
You can spread the word. I mean,
Jay's
there's so many
joining the
things.
You
Christmas
do the
drive this year, you
jambos
guys.
things.
Yes, we
you do
are.
all
We
sorts
do
of
jambos.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we did
And
jambos, which
Y'all do haircuts
provides
for children in foster care.
yeah, so we did
Lots of ways.
haircuts, and so there are other ways that you can help besides the fact of being on the front lines as a foster parent. Because a lot of people say, I could never do that, and it's like you could, you could. It is a lot. It is a lot. But I always
But
tell
if you
people,
can, there's other ways to help.
oh my
Yeah.
god. So when people say,
I'm a donator. I know that I will give you anything that I've got.
That's right.
But I know
That's
for
right.
a fact if you let me love a child and then you were like, okay, it's time for them to go back, it would ruin me.
It even
It
helps
would
like
ruin me.
Paige, like if I got a placement, she would send dinner. And I don't know how like that is literally the best thing ever. And that helps a foster parent so much. So there's a lot of ways.
That's one of the things that I have told Kyler is that I want to help. Obviously, we're new here to Dallas, and so it'll take me a while to build that community. But I love to cook. And so I was telling Kyler, you don't know how hectic it is, or Kyler knows, but I'm telling Kyler, like as a foster parent, it's very hectic the day that you get a placement.
Yeah.
And you just have
Yeah.
so much going on. And then you want to help that child feel comfortable in your home. Because just imagine, like, if it's a lot for you that you're taking them in, imagine the child who's just going through something completely traumatic. It's not their fault. They don't know what's going on. And now they're in a stranger's place
Yeah.
and a strange environment. And they're just like, what's happening here?
And they're being told to go to sleep in this bed they've never even
Yes.
seen
Yes,
before.
it-
Yeah.
Imagine.
Oh my God. And then I'll tell you, well, Cyndi has the expensive mattress. The one thing, and it's funny because from listening to a lot of adoptees, they always talked about the mattress covers. So as a foster parent, you have to have mattress covers on all your mattresses. That's a requirement. And so they make noise.
Yeah,
I
they
don't like
crinkle.
them personally. We've bought in so many. We've bought in so many.
You're talking
and
about
they
those
make
covers
noise.
they put on like all the little kitty camp things
Yeah.
too.
So
And
the ones that Jay has and that adoptees
Yeah.
can remember from their childhood, they're very crunchy and plastic.
Yes.
I do not have those, you guys. I have learned well enough to buy the nice ones.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like, well, I guess I only hit up Walmart, but I should have explored a little bit more. We did end up finding this other one that wasn't as crunchy as the first ones that we had, but I had to change them because they did get really hot as well. And I know from listening to adoptees, that was one of the things that they said is
Yeah.
that was really traumatic for them because they're like in a new home, crunchy bed, and then you just don't know. So one of the ways that I thought of helping, I was like, I love to cook, and so like let's say one of these days I'm making a casserole and I know someone just got a placement, go take them a casserole, right? And saying, hey, you just got a new placement, I'm gonna make you a meal. I'm gonna make you a quick casserole, I'm gonna drop it off, and that way today the one thing you don't have to worry about is dinner, and y'all can just plop dinner on the table.
That's right.
Try to make a conversation.
You're trying to
ease
bond
some
at the same
tension.
time too.
Yeah, ease some tension because that's always a thing. You know, the one thing that we always did when we got a placement is immediately run to the Walmart,
Yes.
Target, whatever was open. And sometimes you get placements like at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. It was always like 9, 10 in the afternoon or in the night.
yeah, it's never in the
yeah,
daytime.
never. It's
That's
rare.
so true. You've always only ever texted me at night.
Yeah, and
Which is so interesting, specifically because most of those cases know that they're going to be foster care. But it's like, as I like to say, like the Army was like very hurry up and wait. It was like, get ready,
That's what it is.
and then you wait.
Yeah.
It's like, but be ready, because once it comes, it's
Yes.
coming.
yeah, and we always had to run to Walmart or run to any store that was open so that we were able to get everything that they needed. And
Yeah.
so, yes.
Can you be a foster parent if you do not have a significant other?
Yes. So we have a friend.
she's gonna be
Ramsey.
on here in a couple
she'll
weeks.
Be, oh, I'm so excited. We actually met her, last summer? Almost a year ago when we went to Jambo's in Atlanta,
Fostering
Georgia.
Single.
Yes. And Ramsey, Fostering Single. And she has definitely taught us that you can foster single, right? Like if you have...
She's a great resource. You guys want to look her up, Fostering
Yeah.
Single. But
Yeah,
yes, you can.
and so you can definitely. Obviously, you know that and obviously it's like single parenting, right? Like you're gonna have to be your own support system, and so
Yes.
so you can.
Will they allow you to be a foster parent if you have chronic health issues yourself?
No.
I don't believe so.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
don't-
can't tell you the specifics.
Me neither.
But you do.
You're
have
saying
to
chronic?
pass.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You do have to have a physical and be cleared physically and mentally.
Yeah,
And they ask you a
chronic
bunch
would
of
mean
different
that
questions.
something could happen to you at any moment.
Yeah.
They would hate to re-traumatize a child by pulling them if something happens to you. No, so you have to be able to.
And interesting because people always ask me about the age, and I'm not 100% sure if there's an age.
So I know that
I would assume so.
Yeah, so I believe there is. I'm not specific on the age, but I know for a fact that like you got to be able to care for this child very long term. So
Yeah, I don't know.
I know that there is a
specifically, but I would say to those people who maybe the age is a factor. I'm not sure what the age is, right? Depending on your state or the chronic health, just find other ways that you can support.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. If you're not able to get into the trenches, maybe just help the people that are in the trenches.
Very nice. If you could change anything about the fostering process, what would you change?
goodness.
There's so much.
There's so much
to change. And I think that a thing that adoptive parents and foster parents really need to do is listen to other adoptees.
Yes.
They have that lived in, I don't know, what do you say, lived in?
They've experienced
They've
it firsthand.
experienced it
Yeah, it's like
firsthand.
experience firsthand, right? And so I think it's so important to listen to them and
Yes.
learn from them, right? Because in anything that you do, removing it from foster care and adoption. So like, let's say, for example, anything that you do, you always want someone who has that lived in experience is really going to be able to help you educate. What has gone through that will give you that great perspective that you need to know to understand it.
Yes.
And that's why I always say listening to adoptees is going to be super important.
Oh yeah, we've learned so much.
In order to really understand and see how we can help. And sometimes what happens is adoptees and potential foster parents can be put against each other.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what I always tell people is don't take things personally, right? Just because their experience is this and yours is this, their experience doesn't negate yours and vice versa.
Right.
You can listen to each other and have a great conversation as long as everyone is listening to understand.
Yes.
But most people listen to respond.
Yeah, not
and then they become extremely defensive, where it's like, if someone was to say something about adoptive parents, like all adoptive parents are bad, I'm not going to take that offensive because I don't believe I am a bad foster parent. So I'm just going to say they must be talking about someone else.
Yes.
Because in my opinion, there's good and bad in everything that we do in this
Yes.
world.
Yeah, true.
There's great foster parents. There's bad foster parents. There's great caseworkers. There's bad caseworkers.
Right.
There's great guardian ad litems. There's bad. There's good and bad in everything that we do. But I think if we listen to each other a little bit more, that would help out. And same thing like with the state laws. I think that they need to listen to a lot of adoptees and help bring them in to advocate and change laws.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If I could change anything about the system, it would be to bring in the people who have experienced it and the people who are in it. We never get asked things, and there'd be a lot of things that I feel like I would be able to give, reflecting on cases that I've had, and they do not do that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like even if you think of like some of the trainings that we get, what better way to have that training led than, for example, adoptees who have gone through that and have that experience and they're advocating for that, for them to lead those classes, for them to lead those trainings and educate us and say, this is how it made me feel. And then imagine you're learning something new and then you get that raw experience from someone. It's like super powerful and impactful. I think that's what they should
Adoptees
do.
are very important, and it's hard because they came from a spot that was traumatic, right? But them sharing is important because I have learned so much more than from my foster care training.
Yeah.
So that's a good answer.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jay.
Thank you,
Thanks
Jay.
for
Thank you for
Love this
joining
topic.
us. Yes, we could talk for hours.
Yeah, for real.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Bye. Well, this is a really great conversation. I'm always glad to talk about it.
I just want to say thank you to both you and Jay for being so
Very much.
open about something so incredibly vulnerable.
It is.
That's a
It
vulnerable thing, but you guys are doing incredible work. Selfless angels.
Oh,
My
goodness.
sweet angels. Thanks, y'all, for joining us again. We're going to see you again next week on YouTube, Apple,
That's right.
all the things.
All the things. Please
Spotify.
subscribe. Subscribe on
Please.
Instagram.
Come hang out with us. We love you.
Keep those giggles going.
And the love flowing.
And until next time,
Mom knows best.
or at least
She's trying her best.
Bye, guys.